Chair, you have the script. Let's see. The first case is Tony Russian, and it's 2 Tony Russians, so that's what I'm asking. Gainesville Housing Authority, one is first.
So we're at an old business, we're addressing one of these older cases that is sent for recommend.
Oh, that's right. So that's first.
That's
Okay. Okay, good. Shakita.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay.
Thanks.
You gonna do something else? You gonna do it? Okay. It's up to you. I'll do it. All right, Chair, we're ready. He's down right here. Yeah. All right, we want to call this meeting to order Friday, 24th February at 5:30 p.m. And I guess I'll start by doing roll call. If you're here, please say aye. Joanna Anderson. Present. Joanna Anderson. She's right here. Yes, sir. Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, well, we're going to call this meeting to order. Can we have the adoption of the agenda, please? Can we have a motion?
Motion for the adoption of the agenda for October 19th.
Second.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the minutes, the October meeting. Okay. Do you have a motion?
I motion for the approval of the minutes for meeting October 19th, 2023.
Second.
Or 2022, sorry.
Second.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let's see, we have public comment. Anyone from the public which want to say anything? All right. Old business. Thank you, Chair and board members. In old business, we're going to be discussing EO-E-2022-15. You guys had introduced, well, we introduced this case last year, but you guys had asked us to come back and look further into it and do a supplemental investigation. And you gave us some guidelines for how to do that. And so what happened is I gave instruction to the board, and the vice chair requested comments or questions from the board. The board remanded this case for additional investigation. Specifically, a motion was made that the assigned investigator inquired if respondent has call records related to the call referenced in the complaint, and if respondent has received applications from voucher recipients since the lawful source of income ordinance was passed. The motion was seconded and passed unanimously. So we have in your backup this supplemental investigative report that was done by our interim compliance manager at the time. Again, this is case number EO-E-202215. Has every board member had a chance to read it? Any questions?
So, Shakyla Birch says that she made a phone call to Sunplex Gainesville Realty Incorporated, and that she was told they didn't take vouchers. And they are saying that they didn't ever say that, and that the person who answered the phone would have immediately forwarded that call to a realtor. Shakyla can produce records that say that she did make the phone call. They can't produce records. And they also say that they accept vouchers and they would have never told her that. But since this ordinance was passed, they're saying that no one has applied with a voucher. to any of their 30-plus properties?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And do you know if we only asked them, or did we actually see the application records of who has applied, and was the city able to see for themselves if anyone applied with a voucher?
The answer to that question, Mr. Chair, is no, and the reason because they had none, so there was none to see. They said they received none.
Well, they're saying they received no voucher applications, but did the city just look at the applications in general? Like, are we taking their word for it, or did we go through the applications and see if someone applied with voucher?
If I understand the question, did we go through each application that the 33 properties received? No, we did not. We asked them to let us know if they received any housing choice voucher recipients, and they said they received none.
Okay.
Any other questions from board members? Mr. Chair.
All right. Let's see here. So, I don't think I gave you that sheet actually. I'll have that.
Do you have this script for this case?
Campbell Bay.
Yes.
Oh, no, I didn't make it.
Okay. We can just use, no, I got one for you. We can just use this one. I'll read it for you. I'll start off and you can go to your part. As indicated in our report, we have determined that there is not sufficient information that would lead an impartial observer to believe that a discriminatory practice has occurred. If you do not believe that there is reasonable cause to believe that a discriminatory practice has occurred, the Equal Opportunity Director must dismiss the complaint. You also have the discretion by a 3/4 majority vote to order such further investigation as deemed necessary. You guys have done that. And then number 3, your decision should be based on the evidence of record. Chair, as required, we have provided the board with evidence concerning our investigation of complaint of discrimination in EO-E-2022-15. You must now make a determination based upon that investigation.
Do we have a motion on the table to accept the recommend? Do you have a motion to accept what they recommend? We don't have a motion? Okay. All right, do we have a motion on the table to accept this? Or to make a motion? So, at this point, what would you like to do? So, folks, we don't have a motion on the table to accept.
All right, so then, in this section,
I don't have.
oh, you don't have it?
Okay.
It's right here.
No, that's for the other two.
That's for the other two.
It's the same script.
Okay.
Yep. It's the same script.
All right.
Just don't read the number, but it's the same information.
Okay. Concerning the report, any questions the board members should be directed to the chair. Office parties and interest complaints and/or respondents, the privilege of the floor to inform them of their limit of time, which is 3 minutes, okay, of debate on the current warrants. But such limits shall be equal for each party. Each party has 3 minutes to inform the board of how they're ready to vote. Remind them that they are only to consider the information and the evidence of record. Okay? So,
The Equal Opportunity Director.
did I miss you?
Yeah, cool. Okay.
The Equal Opportunity Director has determined that there is not sufficient information that would lead to impartial observer to deliver a practice has occurred. You should vote yea if you agree, no. Cause believe that a discriminatory practice has occurred. Let's see. You show, okay, there we go. So that's done. I'll take a motion from the board. Do you have a second? So,
Yeah.
okay. You should vote nay if believe that further investigation is deemed necessary. The board shall specify the areas further investigation if by 3/4 of a majority of a vote further investigation if deemed necessary. Okay? So board, you guys go ahead and
Are you asking us to make a motion for further investigation?
if that's what you see deemed necessary.
I motion for more information about the applications.
You second.
Okay. Chair, board, what specific information are you looking for? Because what was asked for before, they received in housing choice vouchers? They stated no at all 33 properties. What further information would you like for us to gather?
Can you guys be more specific as to what you would like for them to look for? So if you want them to see if there's any records, they enter through records. I mean, I don't know if they can do that, but just see, kind of give them the direction you'd like for them to go, please.
Do we have a sample of the application?
We did not.
We do not, maybe just getting like the sample of the application, that would be helpful.
Okay.
So where I'm coming from is if Birch says they told me on the phone that they don't accept vouchers, and if they say we never said that, but then they have 33 properties and they're also saying no one has ever applied with the voucher, that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me that no one's ever applied, and I understand it's what they're saying and that's what's in evidence. So I'm saying that I don't know if this evidence is complete. It would make sense to me for the city to look at the applications and not just take that word that no one has applied to our 33 properties with housing voucher.
Okay, Chair, the respondent submitted a written statement in response to the questions that the board had previously. And in their written response, they submitted a written response saying they received none. But if you would like for us to go back and look at the applications to confirm that they didn't receive any, we can do that. But that's 33 properties that they manage. And they're saying they didn't receive none of them.
Is it possible?
And they put that in writing. But we can go back and look at it and see the applications.
Is it possible that instead of reviewing all applications, you take a sample of applications?
Sure.
Maybe,
We'll do that.
2 from each property or something?
Perfect. No problem. We'll do that.
Is that all you want to explain? Anything else?
And then
Yeah, just more complete, which is just, you said, she said, just taking their word for it, even if it's written down, it's just.
And then maybe they shouldn't be the ones to decide which ones they give us. Maybe the city should have some form of way of randomly pulling the ones they look at.
Like a random number generator or
Mr.
something.
Right.
Is Mr. Kelly here? Mr. Kelly, can you hear me?
I can,
Are
yes.
you here for this, Chiquita Kelly and Remax?
I am the attorney for Remax LLC. That's the franchisor in Denver that's been appended to this claim. Our position has always been that we're a franchisor. We're not licensed to manage, lease, or sell property in Florida. That's the local broker licensee. And so we don't belong in this claim. If there is anyone answerable to this claim, it should be our franchisee, the local brokerage. I'm attending simply to answer any questions anyone might have as to who the LLC is. I did attend the previous hearing, and I do recall that someone from the respondent was present and stated that they do not have applications, that they don't maintain them, but I just make that as a point of order. I'm not here to argue anything on behalf of the respondent.
Thank you. All right, so if I heard you correctly, you want us to go back and look at 2 sample applications from each property.
And-
Random sample.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and something that you guys can select rather than be handpicked by the properties themselves and given to you.
No problem.
Yeah, because that would not be, that could be very selective.
There's no problem.
So those are, that's what you're asking us to go back and do? Anyone else? Anyone to say on that?
I second the motion.
Just second the motion?
Oh, I do have one question. How far back are you wanting us to go? Because 33 properties, I don't know how large these properties are, but that could be a lot of applications.
Maybe since the housing choice voucher? Or maybe, what am I trying to say? Since the ordinance was passed?
Can we narrow it? Because I think the point that you guys are trying to make is that we're trying to, I'm not gonna speak for you, but I think you're trying to see did they get any, right? So if they got any, can we say 60 days prior to this case? Because if they got 33 properties, you see where I'm going?
I'm okay with that.
Can we narrow it? Okay. 60 days prior to complaint. Okay. Okay.
Second that motion. All right. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. We'll get back on it. Thank you. All right. What is it? All right. Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Tony Rushing, new business? Hi.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members. The cooperative
He can stay on.
Chair, the Equity and Inclusion Office has provided the members of the Human Rights Board a written report concerning complaint discrimination in EO-E-2022-34. We have processed the complaint as required by Chapter 8 of the City's Code. We are here today to report our findings as to whether reasonable cause exists to believe that an unlawful discriminatory practice has occurred in accordance with the City of Gainesville Code of Ordinance, Section 8-88, C(3)(B). We are now ready to report the results of our findings concerning the complaint of discrimination in EO-E-2022-34.
Members of the board, thank you for your presence and participation. You have each received a copy of the final investigative report for complaint EO-E-2022-34 and have had time to review the findings. I will now summarize the findings as it relates to this case. Complainant's allegations. The complaint alleged respondents failed to respond to his request for a housing accommodation based on the complainant's disability. Respondent's position. Respondents denied discriminating against the complainant. Respondents stated that on multiple occasions, the complainant failed to provide them with the necessary documentation to process his request for an additional bedroom and a 24-hour live-in aid. Respondents stated that they approved the complainant's reasonable accommodation request when complainant provided them with the necessary documentation. The summary of the findings, summary of investigative findings. For the complainant to succeed in his claim of denial of a reasonable accommodation based on disability, the investigation must establish the following. The complainant is a person with a disability. Respondents knew or should have known complainant had a disability. Complainant needed a reasonable accommodation to fully enjoy the use of the premises. The accommodation was refused or unreasonably denied. The first element was met as the complainant is a person with a disability. The second element was met as the complainant informed the respondent via the complainant's medical provider that the complainant had a disability when his certification of needs for reasonable accommodation form, his certification form, was sent to the respondent on May 23rd of 2022. The third element was met as the complainant's medical provider articulated that due to the complainant's disability, the complainant needed to reside in a first floor level dwelling unit. He needed the assistance of a living aide, and he needed an additional bedroom to store his medical equipment. The fourth element was not met. Although the respondent initially denied the complainant's request and did not approve the complainant's request until approximately 2 months after his original request, this denial and delay was a result of the complainant or the complainant's medical provider not providing the respondent with the necessary documentation to permit the respondent to sufficiently approve the complainant's request. Once the respondent received the necessary documentation from the complainant at the July 20th, 22 informal hearing, the respondent determined that the complainant's updated certification form established a nexus between the complainant's reasonable accommodation request and the respondent's admission and continued occupancy policy. Additionally, the respondent determined that the complainant's request was required or essential to his care and well-being. The respondent approved the complainant's reasonable accommodation request at the July 20th, 22 hearing. Therefore, based on the foregoing, there is no reasonable cause to believe respondent violated the Code of Ordinance of Gainesville, Florida, Section 8-88, subsection C, subsection 3, subsection B.
As indicated in our written report, we have determined that there is not sufficient information that would lead an impartial observer to believe that a discriminatory practice has occurred. If you do not believe that there is reasonable cause to believe that a discriminatory practice has occurred, the Equal Opportunity Director must dismiss the complaint. You also have the discretion by a 3/4 majority vote to order such further investigation as deemed necessary. Your decision should be based on the evidence of record. Chair, as required, we have provided the board with evidence concerning our investigation of complaint discrimination in EO-E-2022-34. You must now make a determination based upon that investigation.
All right. Members of the board, you have had an opportunity to read the investigative report concerning complaint of discrimination EO-E-2022-34 and heard the summary that report provided by the compliance investigator. What questions, if any, do you have concerning the report? Do anybody have any questions? Any questions from the board members should be directed to the chair. Of a parties in interest, complaints, and/or recipients' privilege of the floor, to inform them of their limit of the debate when the occurrence is warranted, but such limit shall require equal to the parties of each have 3 minutes on the floor to inform the board. Are you now ready to vote? Remember that they only consider the evidence of record. The Equal Opportunity Director has determined that there is no sufficient information that would lead to the impartial observer to believe a discriminatory practice has occurred. You should vote yea if you agree. If there is no reasonable cause to believe a discriminatory practice has occurred. You should vote nay if you believe that neither investigation deemed necessary. The board shall specify the area with further investigation is necessary, if any, by the majority of the board of a vote. So with this one, I'll make a motion on the floor.
Jonathan, do you have a question?
Yeah, I actually
Go
have
ahead.
a question. So was there any record given to y'all of there being a communication between the respondent and the petitioner based off of the section? It said it was for the fourth elements portion. Give me just a second. where it said that it was, this denial and delay was a result of the complainant or the complainant's medical provider not providing the respondent with the necessary documentation to permit the respondent to sufficiently approve the complainant's request. Was there like a notice that you guys had on record that you were able to see of that being true?
Well, we received the actual certification forms from the complaint that he provided to the respondent. If that's what you're asking, they had the dates that they received those particular forms from the respondent. And then if the forms were not sufficient, they reached back out to the complainant to inform him of that. We don't have those records where they reached back out to the complainant to ask him to send updated certification records, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm asking.
Yeah, we don't have those specific records, but we have the actual certification forms that they sent.
Perfect, thank you.
Anyone else? So we'll go ahead and do a vote. I'll make a motion from the board, and I'll ask for a second. So do we want to pass this? Have a motion to pass?
Yes, I motion to accept the compliance investigator's decision.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next one. Okay, the board has voted that there is no reasonable cause to believe that a discriminatory practice has occurred.
Thank you. The board has determined that no reasonable cause to believe that discriminatory practice has occurred, and I shall dismiss the complaint. This concludes today's business as it relates to complaint of discrimination in EO-E-2022-34.
So our next one is,
So, Chair, our next one is going to be Tony Russian again, and this one is EO-E-2022-35. Chair, the Equity and Inclusion Office has provided the members of the Human Rights Board a written report concerning complaint of discrimination in EO-E-2022-35. We have processed the complaint as required by Chapter 8 of the City's Code. We are here today to report our findings as to whether reasonable cause exists to believe that an unlawful discriminatory practice has occurred in accordance with the City of Gainesville Code of Ordinances, Section 8-88(a)(4). We are now ready to report the results of our findings concerning complaint of discrimination in EO-E-2022-35.
Members of the board, thank you for your presence and participation. You have each received a copy of the final investigative report for complaint EO-E-2022-35 and have had time to review the findings. I will now summarize the findings as it relates to this case. Complainant's allegation. The complainant alleged that he was discriminated against by the respondent based on his lawful source of income when the respondent failed to accept his portion of the rent and accompanying late fees, and when the respondent withheld the complainant's security deposit. The respondent's position. Respondents denied discriminating against the complainant. Respondent stated that prior to the ending of the complainant's lease in May of 2022, the respondent informed the complainant and the Gainesville Housing Authority that they would not renew the complainant's lease due to an increase of rent that was above the amount of the complainant's approved housing choice voucher. The complainant was still living in the unit after the expiration of his lease. The complainant lived in the unit during the months of June, July, and August of 2022 without a signed lease in place. The complainant moved out of the unit on August 25th, 2022. The respondent stated that they were not required to accept the complainant's portion of the rent. after the complainant's lease expired, and that the respondent was entitled to retain the complainant's security deposit due to the complainant's status as a holdover tenant. For the complainant to succeed in his claim of housing rental denial based on lawful source of income, the investigation must establish the following. The complainant is a member of a protected class. Complainant was the respondent's tenant. Respondents imposed unfavorable or less favorable terms or conditions on the complainant's tenancy based on his protected class. Respondents did not impose such terms or conditions on similarly situated tenants not of the complainant's protected class. The first element was met. The complainant was an applicant and recipient of rental assistance from the Gainesville Housing Authority in 2021. The second element was met. The complainant was the respondent's tenant from June 1st, 2020 through May 31st, 2022. With regard to the third element, the complainant has alleged that the respondent withheld his security deposit and refused to accept his portion of the rental payments and any accompanying late fees after his lease expired on May 31st, 2022. Additionally, the complainant has alleged that if the respondents would have fixed the required housing quality standards inspection deficiencies in the unit, then the Gainesville Housing Authority would have continued paying the respondents their portion of the rent. The respondents provided a copy of the complainant's lease agreement. According to this lease agreement, the complainant's lease expired on May 31st, 2022. Additionally, a stipulation of the complainant's signed lease agreement permitted the respondent to apply the complainant's security deposit to any monies that the complainant owed under the lease. Prior to the Gainesville Housing Authority's biannual HQS inspection of the complainant's unit on April 2nd, 2022, the respondent hand-delivered a notice of non-renewal to the complainant on February 16th, 2022. The respondent also informed the complainant and Gainesville Housing Authority that they would not be renewing the complainant's lease on March 4th, 2022 due to a rental increase. Although the respondents did not plan to renew the complainant's lease for the current unit due to a rental increase, the respondents tried to assist the complainant in obtaining another rental unit for the amount of his approved housing choice voucher. Additionally, the respondents did not take any legal action to evict the complainant from the unit, even though the complainant occupied the unit for an additional 86 days after the expiration of his lease. The complainant provided insufficient evidence to show that the respondent's actions were due to his protected class. Therefore, the third element was not met. Therefore, based on the foregoing, there is no reasonable cause to believe respondent violated the Code of Ordinance of Gainesville, Florida, Section 8-88, subsection A, subsection 4.
As indicated in our written report, we have determined that there is not sufficient information that would lead an impartial observer to believe that a discriminatory practice has occurred. If you do not believe that there is reasonable cause to believe that a discriminatory practice has occurred, the Equal Opportunity Director must dismiss the complaint. You also have the discretion by a 3/4 majority vote to order such further investigation as deemed necessary. Your decision should be based on the evidence of record. Chair, as required, we have provided the board with evidence concerning our investigation of complaint discrimination in EO-E-2022-35. You must now make a determination based upon that investigation.
Okay, members of the board, you have had the opportunity to read the investigative report concerning complaint of discrimination EO-E-2022-35 and heard the summary that the report provided by the compliance investigator. What questions do you have concerning the report? Any questions should be directed to the board, to the chair. Offer parties, interest, complaints, and/or respondents the privilege of the floor to inform them that the limit of the debate when it occurred warrants such limits, to be equal to each party. On the floor, 3 minutes to inform the board that you are now ready to vote. Remember that they only inform the board of you now be ready to vote. So the Equal Opportunity Director has determined that there is no sufficient information that would lead to impartial observer to believe that discriminatory practice has occurred. You should vote yay if you believe that that is no response to this case because a discriminatory practice has occurred. You should vote nay if you believe that further investigation should be deemed necessary for the board in the areas in which the investigators should investigate. By 3/4 of a majority of a vote, the investigation is deemed necessary. All right. So at this moment, I will take a motion on the table, please. Any questions?
I have a motion.
We're on questions right now. Anybody got any questions?
Okay, perfect.
Any questions? Okay, good. Any motion?
Yeah. I move to approve the compliant investigators report in case number EO-E-2022-35.
Okay. Second?
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion passes unanimous. All right. The board has voted that there is no reasonable cause to believe that discriminatory practice has occurred, or the board
has determined that there is no reasonable cause to believe that discriminatory practice has occurred, and I shall dismiss the complaint. This concludes today's business as relates to complaint of discrimination in EO-E-2022-35. Member comment is next, and I have a comment. Chair, whenever you're ready.
Okay, we'll let you go first, and then I'll let the board.
Awesome. So I just want to give an opportunity for one of our newer board members, Jonathan Stevens, to introduce himself to the board and let the board know a little bit about him. Jonathan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Chance Stevens. I'm a second-year food science major with a minor in ag and natural resource law. I'm really excited to be a part of the board and learn more from each of you when we meet. So thank y'all so much for your time.
All right. Thank you, and welcome. Also, I want to acknowledge the mayors in the room. Mr. Mayor, thank you for showing coming. Do you have anything you want to say, Mr. Mayor?
No, thank you.
Okay. Anybody? Vice Chair?
So I just wanted to find out, I know it's been for the last 3 or 4 months that we've canceled meetings rather than rescheduling them, and so I wanted to kind of find out the process and why we don't reschedule and why we just cancel meetings.
We cancel meetings when we do not meet or have enough.
No, because the last time in the email, it said conflicting schedules.
Or if there's another need for the city commission to utilize the room.
So we can't
when we have
reschedule?
other board meetings, that's what we do, we reschedule the meetings. That's all.
No, it cancels for the month, because that's what we've done for the last 3
Right, and
months.
so part of that process is we have to look and make note of when there's availability for a room, either this room or the room upstairs, because we record the meetings.
Right, we've also met in another building, was it the GRU building, in previous times.
Oh, okay.
So there's other places to meet, and that's why, because it's just one of those things where it's like we have new members and we've had committee, city officials, that are helping with the board that have left and things that happen, and we're not familiar. You guys are still here every day doing your job and very familiar with it. When we come in once a month, it's very still new to us, right? So when you don't do it for a month and 2 and then 3 and 4, it makes you believe kind of that the board's not valuable enough to consistently have meetings, or is it these cases, is there not enough cases, or are we pushing these cases aside?
We have, so the first, I think it was in November and December, we couldn't get quorums. And as you know, you've been on the board a long time.
No, that's not true.
You've been
In
on the board-
November, I talked to Shakayla, and because it was our hurricane, I suggested to her that we cancel because
Okay,
of the
well, we
hurricane.
canceled because of the hurricane.
Right, but it's not always because of the quorum.
I'm not saying it's always because of the quorum, but I'm saying quorum is an effect of it, hurricanes are an effect of it.
Sure.
City commission needing this meeting room at one point since we last had a meeting.
But instead of
regarding the issues.
canceling, it can be rescheduled, like
It
this
can
meeting
be
was.
if we have the opportunity and the space within everybody's schedules to do
But
so.
it seems like
and the
unless
ability
someone
to
like
take a role.
myself had pushed for it, it wasn't ever gonna be done. Because
That's not
this is
true.
but let me tell you, Zara, this is my second time on the board.
Okay.
So I have a lot of experience with different employees and different members of the board, different chairs and all that. It does happen, unless someone really pushes and becomes the bad guy, so to speak, to do that, because I feel like this board is very important. And it's
I do
just one
too.
of the things that, you know, why I moved back to Gainesville, I wanted to be part of the community again, and I'll probably live here for the rest of my life and work at UF. I was a student at UF. And so I wanted to get involved, and not only been involved with the Human Rights Board, but other committees in Gainesville. And it seems like unless there's one or two people that kind of like push something and force something, it just keeps not happening.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'll make a commitment. We will have a board meeting. And when we don't, as we've done in the past, we'll let you know why. And if we haven't let you know why, I apologize for that now. We'll make sure it's clear when a board meeting gets canceled, why it got canceled. And we will try, if I hear you correctly, it's not just about rescheduling. You want it rescheduled in the same month, so it won't be this whole
Yeah,
time.
let's not skip a
So
month.
we'll
Let's
try to-
reschedule. It could be another day.
We'll
It
try to
doesn't- I mean, I
schedule
know their consistency is important, but I think the value of the board and the work that we do, and if we meet more with each other,
Right.
you know, and there's a lot of changes that go on. Like I said, there's new people here that we don't know, board
Right,
members, and that
right,
was one of the
right.
reasons why we were bringing in, like, suggesting about getting, you know, food at some point, you know, not every time, but just to kind of bring people together. There's new staff and all of that, because we don't want to, and we said this before, we don't want to just be warm bodies
Right.
saying yays or nays
Right.
and reading from a script
I mean,
and then go home.
I guess a solution to that, is like, is there any, like, I don't know if there's any legal issues with this, but like, maybe getting like people's general availability, and if there is some sort of issue that comes up, being able to kind of have that at the ready, so you could say, well, here's a proposed date, does that work?
Yeah, it does. So one of our challenges is, and the reason why, I don't want to speak for you, but the reason why I said that it gets moved is because one of the challenges, our board meetings are set for, I believe, that's how I was just looking at, the third Wednesday of the month. So if we have to cancel, move it, reschedule it for any reason, we are limited in the number of days that we have left for the same calendar month. And so that has an impact on whether or not, so we do try to have the meetings. And I'll tell you this, we have to have these because that's the only way we can clear out cases. So only way we have to get them heard by this board. I know you're a new member, so that's what has to happen. But that's some of the challenges too. Our meetings are normally the third Wednesday of the month. And so that's, and Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have to share it with a lot of different people. And recently we've had issues with our sound equipment upstairs as well. So we're trying to get it, but I want to make a commitment that we will try to get the meeting scheduled as quickly as possible due to room availability, everybody's schedule, and just other general committee meetings at the city of Gainesville.
Yeah,
So I'll make that
it's-
commitment.
It's important, I think, for, you know, not to speak for anybody else, but you know, for us to reschedule rather than cancel, because if you say like, you know, we get backed up on cases and we don't want to
Right.
get anybody off, and then people show up, or they potentially, you know, would show up, and then they've got to be delayed for any
Right.
reason whatsoever.
So can I ask a question?
Real
So,
quick,
go ahead.
do we need him on the screen or he can?
No, yeah, he can
We-
go.
we
I'm
can
so
let him
sorry.
go. I'm sorry.
William,
I think, oh, yeah, that's muted.
William, you can go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just,
I will excuse myself and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Chair.
I
So,
appreciate that, thank you. I'll see you at the next one.
yeah, yes, sir. All right. So we'll make that commitment to reschedule, but I just want you to know that's kind of what goes on into
Understood.
reschedule.
All
Yeah.
right, thank you.
so let me say this. We need to have a workshop.
It's something we talked about before.
Right, and we've talked about this before, and I agree, like, it's like we're saying the same things. This board needs to have a workshop, because a lot has changed, the staff is not the same anymore. And, you know, as the chair, a lot of stuff has changed, it really has. I used to get calls from Jaquela, you know, say, hey, when do we need board meetings and stuff like that? I don't get communicated with at all. So Mr. EEO Director, I'm telling you or suggesting, you know, as a chair, that we need to set aside a day to have a not this type of meeting, but we need to have a workshop. And I think that we need to set some records straight. And I'm just speaking from my heart. Because when I come on this board, I come to, make a change. I'm not new to this city. I'm not new to this. Marie Small is a good friend of mine. God bless her soul. She passed. Marie taught me well. And I was like her son, trust me. She taught me well. We've had cases on this board that we've actually turned down, and they went to state or feds and they got heard and they won their case. So I want to be the best at what I do, and I want to make the citizens of Gainesville understand that we're going to do our job. And I don't believe that we have to agree to disagree, but I've been around this block a long time, and I think that this change needs to happen. I want people on this board to feel that we want them on this board. I'm straight up and honest. We've had people that have left the board that have spoken to me, written things and said, look, I left because I wasn't happy. I felt I wasn't being used. And I'm not slamming anybody, but we need to change that. And I think at any cause, whatever we need to do to make sure that the board members understand their role, but they're also excited about coming here. As I stated, the city doesn't, give any type of awards or anything for you coming here, but you take your earnest time to come here and you spend it here. Like right now, GHS is having a basketball game because they're in the finals, and that's where I should be, but I'm here because I'm dedicated to the city. This is not my first rodeo. So I really think we need to do that. I will get with your office and get a date, but I think, we got new people on the board, and by the way, hello, investigator. I didn't say anything to you, but I'll speak. You're so quiet down there. I know I'm so used to you talking, but I don't. But we need to do that. And again, I don't want people leaving this board, and I'm saying this from my heart. I ain't just talking. I don't want them leaving this board that they feel that we're not doing our job and they're not being used properly. And if that's the case, then we need to rethink this thing, because I want everybody on this board to feel that you're making a change in policy or whatever the case is. If you don't like the way certain things is, then we'll get with Ms. Shelley and say, okay, can we do this? Can we not do this? But whatever we need to do, we need to make people feel that they are making informed decisions that strengthens not only our community, but the workers. I believe it's 2,000 workers of the city of Gainesville. So those workers depend on us when a case comes before us that we make an informed decision. And sometimes it may not be what you see, it may be other things. And I think that's important that we get that. Mr. Zariah, there are a lot of cases through the year that we have, and I can tell you that we have very few that we find that they are actually a case. And I think that the board, and I think that we need to sit down and find out how can we limit that when we get these cases and we know that they're not a case. Because look at how many cases we've had that were actually cases that came before, and how many we get more that are not cases than ones that are. And that since I've been here, we've had a lot of those. And you may not have been the EO, but we need to figure that out so that when people apply, they know that they actually got something instead of not having something, and that we use our time wisely. I also will bring up to the EO director again, as we discussed about having some type of beverage at the meetings. We had this conversation several times. I know you got that P card. It'd be nice to swipe it every now and then for the board, or if we can't do that, then I don't mind bringing some beverages, because I think as the chair it's important that they appreciate and know that they're appreciated, and from a hard day's worth of work. A lot of these people get off work. So pretty much that's all I have to say. Anything else I'll say, but that's where I am. I want a good board, and we've lost a lot of people on this board because of the way they feel and they don't like the way things are done, and they came to the chair.
I think one thing if I can add something to that, that's important, and whether it's a workshop or like we had done before, was like a PowerPoint presentation. We sat at our office, you guys we all Zoomed, you shared a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if you were part of that or not. And it kind of gives you a background of like what the board does, what the limitations are, right? What are the boundaries? What we can't go outside of, that's not what we do, or this is, and to understand that, because if you don't have that basic kind of, then you are just a warm body here, trying to interpret these cases on our own, and then when we get in here, we read everything so fast. It's like we're on a time clock, and man, we want to punch in and punch out and get out, because even though I've read these cases, I'm still like, what you're reading is not what I'm reading, right? And we talked about that before, like that's kind of like the script that we have, but that's where I get lost in cases, because whatever you're reading, I'm not following. So I don't know where you are along, whoever's reading about the case.
You
And so-
actually should have, you made that note last year, you should have 2 copies, and you gave the chair one tonight.
Yeah, I gave them all my scripts tonight, because
Right,
they didn't
so
have
that's
it.
on- but this
But I'm
is-
saying the whole board, not just us.
I think they all have it.
They all have
Yeah,
scripts?
we made that, just,
Okay.
you asked for that, that's been done.
Okay, but from that, is that where he was reading from, this gentleman, for the cases?
Yes.
Were you reading from, okay.
Yes, so we
Okay,
made
good.
that change, so that's
Okay.
the thing I'm gonna point out. There's been changes, recommendations that we've made, but I do have 2 ones that I'm gonna point out tonight. And I thought Shakayla did this one time before, but we'll do it in more of this setting. If I heard you correctly, orientation or reorientation, that
Yeah,
fair
just
assessment?
something to kind of
Alright.
give you background.
I like it.
Idea of what you guys do, and when
Okay.
we come in and we make a determination what parameters we have to work
No
with.
problem, we'll set that up.
It's so much more insightful.
And then for scheduling purposes, because reschedule council was brung up, because we meet again the 3rd Wednesday of each month, I don't want to get.
No, I understand what you're-
I'm saying,
I understand
I don't
what
want
you're
to
saying.
get, so what I'm
Yeah.
saying, we're committing to, if I'm hearing you correctly, that means if we reschedule a meeting and we miss that Wednesday and we find somewhere to do it, this board is going to commit to a meeting in between the next meeting.
That happens with me all the time at work, and I
You're
can only
one
give you,
person.
I know, and that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, only speaking for myself. If
Right.
anybody else on the board doesn't want that,
Right.
I just was kind of like wondering why we keep canceling and canceling. It's like, it doesn't make you feel like you're a valuable part of anything. Like, are we really effective if we just can keep canceling for no reason and not rescheduling? And so, until I asked the question, no one ever has ever mentioned about rescheduling, like later in the month or the next week, which I think is important. I'd be willing to do that. I'm not
Okay.
gonna speak for anybody else
So,
on the board, but.
But just keep in mind, I want everybody, so I want to be clear, that's one point I'll be clear of, because remember,
Yeah.
it's already the 3rd Wednesday. By the time we get the room again,
That happens with
we could
meetings. I have at
literally
work all
be,
the time.
right,
yeah.
but I'm just saying, this board has, that's what you're going to be committing to.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. So when it comes back around again, I'm going to re-emphasize this. And the other thing I want to just emphasize to us is the fact that, yes, we value your time, so that's why we try not to double up on them like that, so close together. But if you guys want to do that and feel comfortable doing it, I have no problem with us trying to find another date. Again, contingent upon this room being available, that room being available, somewhere where we can record the meetings, all right? So I just want to be clear.
Make a suggestion.
Sure.
I don't know how early or not we take quorum.
Mhm.
It sort of feels to me it happens either that week or the week before, where we're like, who's gonna be there?
It's normally 2 weeks before, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't,
This email for the first time for this meeting didn't go out this week or last week. It went out earlier than that.
We kept sending them out because the first one didn't have a quorum, y'all canceled.
right, maybe that's what I'm thinking of, because it did
Because
get
those
sent
emails were
twice.
confusing.
It did get sent twice.
Mhm.
But like, for example, and I hear your point,
Mhm.
it's always the same Wednesday. That
Yeah.
is true. But I know I can't make the next one. So if in the first week of March, if
Mhm.
we are already, calling for who's gonna be there, if we know we're not gonna be quorum,
Mhm.
that might leave us more time
Yeah.
to see if there's something in the 4th week that everyone can make, as opposed
I like that.
as
So-
opposed to right when we find out too close to it.
Right,
Because I'm happy to be here, but also
right.
Friday after work was not my first choice.
Right.
Me neither.
Me
I don't want to do that a lot more.
Right.
Me neither.
And
yeah.
my thing of it is too, what I'd like to do, they don't run anything by the old board chair anymore.
Mhm.
I'd like to get a calendar, and we've done this before, we got away from it.
Mhm.
You got here, and we need to get a calendar, and everybody have a calendar when these meetings are, have an alternative date, and then we can get that thing set.
It's not, so, Chair and
And,
Commissioner.
and what I'm saying is this, So if you get the dates and then you make sure that those rooms are available or they're not available, then you can come to us and then can say, okay, well, this is the calendar. I've already cleared the rooms, and then we can go from there. You see what I'm saying? Like, and then if you got an alternative date, like you said,
Can I tweak it? Can we do the first of the month? We send out the meeting that we already know it's the third Wednesday, but we
Right.
send out to set the quorum the first of the month. So that email is to say, hey, meeting's on the 19th, does anybody schedule come up? Because trust me, I understand your schedule's gonna change, so know that. all right?
Yes.
All right.
No, I
So-
mean, that's like.
Okay, so
sure,
just
sure,
know that. We'll send it out then, and
And it doesn't
then
ever
we
mean
can
that a
start.
meeting can't be canceled, but I just, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
no, I can't
Like,
cancel
after-
a meeting now.
No, no, no.
Don't do that.
No.
You
The
got a lot of
issue was
energy
not
this day.
canceling one meeting.
Yeah,
It
you
was
got a lot of
canceling
energy.
one meeting and then the next meeting and then the next meeting.
But I promise you, it's not, I promise you guys, it's not
Right.
intentional, because it affects our cases too.
Yes.
So what we'll do is, the first of the month, we'll do that. We'll start doing that. That way, we can find out when everybody's available. And if we can't, I'm gonna try to reschedule. Deborah, don't beat me. If we can't do the 19th, for example, or we get close and something comes up, somebody can't make it, I'm not gonna cancel it. I'm gonna reschedule, but just know that reschedule may be literally the week before we get to this meeting. So it's gonna depend, and you guys just let me know how you feel. If you don't like it, we'll make adjustments.
No,
It's not
yeah,
like
I
that.
mean, yeah.
All right, so I got two things. One, we'll set up orientation.
and that's for the new
Two,
members.
no, that's for everybody. But you just said.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't say.
Chair.
She brought it up. I didn't say.
No, but you just said nobody really about a chair.
Well, I'm
You
just
said
telling
you
you.
don't want to feel like you ain't coming here to do nothing.
It's all right. It's all right. What I'm saying, I've
I've been
been.
on the board twice.
But I'm just saying, I've been
But
through
that's
that orientation, so I don't,
All right, okay, all right, so everybody
Well, but
but the
I will
chair.
say that there's only one new member. You can't have an orientation for one person.
No, we'll do it.
Well, technically, we just.
We'll all do it.
Well, technically, we just had a orientation with Jonathan.
Okay.
We have orientation with new members. We didn't let Jonathan just come here tonight and wing it. You know what I'm saying? So he's been through one. But if you guys want another orientation, I'm fine, we'll do that again. Because I think there needs to be some clarity on what you can and can't do, because I'm getting that vibe that you guys don't know what you can and can't do.
I mean, no,
So we need to clarify.
but
But here's the thing, because you guys, like I said, are in the office and you do this all the
I don't
time.
mind.
We don't. And
Yeah,
so, and
yeah,
then
I
when
don't
we're
mind.
gone for 3 months and we don't have a meeting, right, we're really out of tune because,
Hey, you fine with me, so we have an orientation, I'm gonna be expecting to see you, I'm gonna be expecting to see the chair, and everybody else that wants to, that's what you want, we're gonna do it. So
Yep.
we'll set the orientation, and we'll do the first of the month, I like that idea. That way we can set quorum in advance, and is there anything else?
yeah, the food that we talked about that you said you were gonna do. I just threw, since we're throwing it out
and it's
there,
not every month.
it's not every month, but you did agree to that, and we were in the chambers.
So,
Are we allocated a budget as a committee?
no,
Okay, so, yeah.
We understand that we're not allocated a budget, but as the
That's
chair,
something that we used to
we
do.
used to do, it's nothing new,
And it can't be done.
so.
and it can be done.
So what we're gonna do is, we need to definitely have the orientation, because, and I'll just share this now, no other board at the city of Gainesville gets food,
Right, I understand.
alright? And I'm going to make sure I'm following the rules for the city of Gainesville, because you guys are making great points, so we're gonna be by the book, by the rules. We're not providing food.
So,
Okay.
Ryan, let me be clear.
So how do we provide food last time?
That's my argument.
I provided food the last time because I chose to provide it the last time as a form of, you said, meet and greet for members. So we had a meeting.
So how do we provide it 2 other times before that? And I can tell you what we ate. So,
Okay.
because,
It wasn't just sandwiches.
And that's what I'm saying.
Lasagna from, what's the Italian place? on
yes, we
Thursday?
had those, and not only did we have
I'm
that,
just
we had
saying,
Boston Market.
It's been done.
Yes, it has. And everybody was able to pick what they wanted along with the public. So again,
And it wasn't the members that paid for it.
exactly. And it was done in the sunshine. Like if somebody came, they were able to pick what they wanted to eat. So again, I'm asking this question because I know it can be done.
I'm not providing food. I want to be clear. I'm not providing food. All right. No other board at the city of Gainesville is getting food. I don't want to start it. All right.
How did
I hear you,
we do that?
Zariah.
I wasn't here before. I'm not.
No, I'm just kind of like, just to ask him.
You have the option to do that though. Are you, let me just ask this. So is it against the city ordinance for you having a city P card to provide a, whatever, something small, but also that the public, because they have to be included. Is that against city policy?
I do not have a CDP card, and I'm not sure if I can do that for this board.
Ms. Attorney, is that against,
I'm not.
you don't know that answer?
Well, it's supposed to, any money we serve at the city is supposed to serve a public purpose.
Correct.
I'm not sure that meets that standard. I've been here for 5 years. We've never served food at these meetings, so I don't know what your history is here.
It's 2013.
Yeah, they had the last person that was, we did it. So, yeah, I mean, I hear you, but yeah, it was done.
Sorry.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay, before you adjourn, someone needs to put on the record who is in attendance, that's members, and that you established a quorum, because that hasn't been done yet.
Oh, I said everybody, okay.
You started to do roll call and then you stopped after.
Okay, no problem.
You have,
Let me just see.
Yeah, if YouTube possible, like once you guys have your conversation about that orientation, if you could just send like a notification about availability, like that would be helpful a lot.
Yes.
Because I don't mind communicating via email, I just want to make sure that it's not like out of the blue.
no, we're gonna send an email. I'm not gonna get with the chair on it, because remember the chair told me he doesn't leave that orientation.
Okay.
So I'm gonna send the email out to everybody, and then we'll figure out what everybody's availability. Matter of fact, we may do like a doodle poll. Make it simple.
Let me go ahead and just do this so we can establish a quorum. Is Joanna Anderson here? Say aye. Dijon Kane, aye. Jonathan?
Here.
Okay. Deborah?
Here.
I can't see it. Mary? So I can't see it.
Maya?
Maya?
Oh, here.
Sorry, Maya, I got my glasses on. Okay, well, we have a quorum. Did I miss somebody? I'm sorry.
Struggling with the name pronunciation. that's
Yeah.
okay.
To Quinn.
To Quinn.
President.
All right, thank
I
you,
should
sir.
say my last.
And again, I mean, I appreciate everybody for coming out.
Let me share one last thing, Chair, if you don't mind, before we go. I want to share that, well, I'm going to save all of us. The chair had mentioned that people contact him. Just keep in mind, and we'll go over that in orientation, you're not allowed to contact each other.
And in other
We'll
words,
talk about business.
but that was taken out of context, all right?
No, I'm just, it's okay. I'm just saying to talk about, you can talk to Dijon, but I'm talking about business that refers to any of the cases that's going to come back.
We've never done that. We were,
I'm not saying you have, I'm
Okay.
just saying I want to make sure I clarify, we have new members, and I want to make sure, because when he, right.
I wanted to make sure that it's clear that that has not occurred as well.
Absolutely.
By anyone. Thank you.
All right, that's all I have.
All right, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, have a good evening.